But then also, I realized that if I was going to go in this court, right, and I was going in as a Black man, right, and I know the history of Black men in court, whether
absolutely
in family court, criminal court, civil court,
absolutely,
name the court, we're seen differently.
Absolutely.
And that's not me playing the race card. That's me playing the reality card. So I knew if I went in there as an angry Black man, berating that woman next to me, that everything she said in her paperwork would be deemed true.
What's happening, y'all? This is Mike D with Black Fathers Now, where we're bringing the village to the brothers. Every couple of weeks, you can look forward to a quick inspirational message or a thought-provoking guest with knowledge and wisdom, all geared towards helping you be the best father that you can be. We're bringing the village to you. Now it's your turn to do something with what you learned. All right, y'all. Let's go. What's going on, fellas? This is Mike D with Black Fathers Now, and I have an awesome guest with us today. This brother has a story, he has a journey, but he's also doing something right now, especially in the LA area, that is off the chain and is impacting lives on a daily basis. And I have my man, Mark Winkler. And well, before we get started, it's kind of funny. His name is Mark Winkler, and he actually emailed me about a month or so ago, and I was not quick to respond because he mentioned about being a podcast guest. And I saw the name Mark Winkler, and I was like, this is Black Fathers Now. I'm like, because people solicit all the time to want to be on the show, and I'm just like, okay, Mark Winkler. I'm just like, this is not a brother at all. Until I went to his website, and I was like, Mark Winkler is a brother. And so, I'm telling him this for the first time, so he's laughing. But yeah, because I will be honest, when you first sent me the email and I saw Mark Winkler, and I'm like, I talk to anybody and we can do stuff via YouTube, but as it pertains to Black Fathers Now, I like to interview brothers, right?
Absolutely.
And so the name itself did not ring brother. Brother did not come top of mind. But anyway, we'll get into some of that a little later. But Mark is St. Louis born, New York raised, but he moved to Los Angeles to pursue entertainment or a career in entertainment. In the process, he became a father unexpectedly. And from there, your relationship issues and court issues in regards to custody, ensued. But that process or that journey led to new beginnings. Now, Mark is now happily married, and he also created this thing, or he's a co-creator of this organization called Manhood Camp, which we're really going to dive into in a little bit. And again, he's based in Los Angeles. And fellas and ladies listening to in the Black Fathers Now family, let's welcome my man, Mark Winkler. What's up, brother?
What's going on, man? What's going on? Good to be here. This is indeed the Black Mark Winkler.
I'm going to tell you, it was the funniest thing because when you first emailed me, I'm going to be honest with you. I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to open this thing. Mark Winkler. Like it's no discrimination here. But again, the goal with Black Fathers Now is to interview other Black men, throughout their journey as it pertains to fatherhood from the Black male perspective. And so I thought, honestly, it was just somebody else soliciting. But you are Mark Winkler, my friend.
Indeed I am, good sir.
No doubt, man. Hey, and before we get started with everything, I always like to have the brothers give some shout outs and, just kind of give a shout out to your support system, your family, those that are, in your corner, man. We got to put that out first. Go ahead and shoot them out.
Absolutely, man. Look, I got to start with, without a doubt, the rock of my life, my wife, Thea Monier. Without her, I would not be able to really be here in the way that I am right now. And I'll touch on that a little later, but that is truth. My mother, my father, my child, my stepchildren, everyone in my circle really support me and lift me up, even when they don't realize they're doing it. 'Cause with the challenges, that helps to lift me up as well. But this the primary shout out, without a doubt, goes out to my wife.
That's powerful, man. They say behind every great man, there's a great woman. I say beside and sometimes in front of, every great man, there's a great woman. But I wholeheartedly
I would
agree.
definitely say beside and in front of.
Uh-huh.
And then when she's behind me, she's pushing me to keep moving. So absolutely.
Hey man, and that's powerful itself. When she's behind you, she's pushing you, but it's a good thing. You're not on a cliff. It's about pushing
not
you
on the
forward.
cliff. Even though I know sometimes when she pushes me, she wish I was on the cliff.
That's a different conversation, brother.
She uses patience with me, man.
I love it, man. I love it, man. And so we mentioned initially in your journey or in your bio here, you're born in St. Louis, raised in New York, but then, like a lot of folks, you pursued entertainment, and so you moved to Los Angeles.
Right.
Talk to us a little bit about your beginnings. Talk to us about your origin story, but then walk us through to the notion of you getting to a point in which you started pursuing, the entertainment industry out in Los Angeles.
Well, that was sort of it's a funny thing, but it all kind of relates back to St. Louis. So like you said, I was born in St. Louis. I grew up there really to about the age of 10 or 11. Okay. Then I moved to New York with my father. So there was a separation early on in my life as well. So in St. Louis, I lived with my mother. And then at a certain point, whether or not it was an agreed upon conversation or a fruitful conversation, somehow me and my older brother, we ended up in New York.
Is that where your father was?
What's that?
Is that where your father was?
That's where my father was.
Okay.
Correct. So I ended up in New York with my older brother, and then that's where my formative years took place. But St. Louis, I think, rooted me in certain principles. Like, because in St. Louis, in the Black community, there's definitely a communal, but when I lived there anyway, it was a communal spirit. Everyone looked out for everyone. So those principles were instilled in me, right? So, and growing up in New York, I definitely took those to New York with me, but I gained a lot of other stuff in New York as well.
Gotcha.
I think my quick-wittedness, my sense of stick to it no matter what, my sense of don't take no for an answer, all of that, I think happened in the course of me living in New York under my father. So growing up in New York, at a certain point, my younger brother, who is from a different father, this ties back to St. Louis, he had a relationship with one of the members of Nelly's group.
Oh,
Nelly,
really?
The rapper, he went to school with them. So he started to reconnect with them, and somehow through those conversations, he became their manager.
Really? So your younger brother became the St. Lunatics?
The St. Lunatics, right.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. I know a little something. I know about that over there. It's funny, like a side note, I live in Knoxville, Tennessee, and very far west Tennessee is Memphis. And in Memphis, they have the whole thing too. So a lot of times people do the I don't cur, I don't hurt,
Oh, really? So okay.
Yeah, so Memphis kind of has that same thing going on that they do in St. Louis. Okay, side note.
I thought Memphis was all about Elvis, man, but okay.
No, we talking about look, again, it's Black Fathers now. How many Black fathers referencing Elvis on a regular? Come on, brother.
Okay, I'm
talking about DJ from Hustle and Flow. Come on. Okay, my bad. I didn't mean to side note, get you off track.
But no, that's absolutely that. So when my younger brother became manager, that spirit of brotherhood kicked in. So my older brother's a lawyer. He brought him on. Because of just the relationship with my brother and some of the work I had started to do, my younger brother's appreciation of how I handle business, he brought me on to the management team.
Okay.
And so that was all in New York.
Okay.
At a certain point, the management team started a relationship with one of the top 5 agencies in Los Angeles called UTA, United Talent Agency.
Okay.
They signed Nelly as an artist, and also with the signing, the St. Lunatics became partners with United Talent Agency to bring more urban acts to UTA.
Wow.
And so they said, we need someone out in LA. So that's where I reluctantly got on the plane because I hate to fly.
Okay.
And I moved out to Beverly Hills.
Okay.
And so that's how it happened, man. It was really a relationship thing and that resulted in me becoming part of the management team with Nelly and the St. Lunatics.
I want to touch on that because, what's interesting, when you think about the journey or the trajectory to Los Angeles, most people automatically assume that you went to Los Angeles to become an actor, or you went to Los Angeles to become a screenwriter or something, you know, like my wife's from Los Angeles. And what's interesting is, you know, whenever we go to Los Angeles, or if we go to eat, especially if we go somewhere like in Hollywood or Beverly Hills or something, what's interesting, just about everybody working in the restaurant is also an actor or an actress. And they'll tell you after they, you know, bring you your water and everything, and you ask them a little bit about themselves, they'll say, oh, well, I'm an actor, or I was in this commercial and that commercial. And they borderline will pull the script out from below the tray to handle the hand.
They think the fact that you bring it up, you must be a producer.
I must be something. So it was ironic that you mentioned that was the realm of entertainment that took you to Los Angeles, which is a little different from what personally I was assuming. I thought you were going to, you know, do some type of acting or whatnot, but you were out in a management capacity for the Saint Lunatics, based on a relationship that initially started.
Right, absolutely. I mean, look, there's acting in my family, right? So there's acting in my consciousness, but I really didn't want to be an actor. My father, Mel Winkler, is an actor, and it's just it's something about one moment in my life that happened when I lived in New York that it made me not want to be an actor. Right? So we lived in this place called Manhattan Plaza, which was actually a building set aside for entertainment and actors. And there was, he had a whole group of Black male friends there talking about the entertainment industry. And I think maybe I was around 10 or 11, about 12, 13, I can't remember. But I do remember them saying how hard it was for Black male actors, Black actors in Hollywood, and they were complaining so much. So I said, I don't want to do that.
Wow.
And I don't want to go that route. So I didn't go that route. But my father, he's the one who came out here. He's a very successful actor, did Broadway, but then he made his way out here to LA. So he did that. My journey, like you said, was different. I came out here under a management capacity. And when I got out here to LA, I really saw a lot of what my father was talking about. Even in the agency that I worked in, there was not a lot of Black people signed. In fact, and I'm not going to go off on a tangent on this, but I remember when we had the first meeting of the management team and UTA, and they were talking about, you know, we're going out with guns blazing. We're going to build up this urban division. And they said, but one thing, don't really go after Black actresses because they only get roles as prostitutes and maids. So there's not a lot. Yeah, there's not a lot of money there. Now this was 2003. So things have changed. Of course, there's been this explosion of Black actresses on the scene, but back then it took me back to that moment when I was 12 or 13. So even though I was out in Hollywood and I had the opportunity a few times to go on an audition or whatever, I said to myself, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay in my lane.
You said something that was powerful there. I think it was an interaction with Denzel Washington that I forgot which actor it was, but he mentions it, and I've heard it in multiple places. But in essence, no, it was Denzel Washington with Sidney Poitier, if I'm not mistaken. It was something. But to your point, it really revolves around the whole concept of you're basically as good as the roles that you take. Right. And so you take a look at the types of roles that he's played throughout his career, and Sidney Poitier versus some of the roles taken by some of their counterparts. And you can see that mindset being adopted in regards to what it is you're creating or what it is you're allowing to be created through the imagery that you bring to the table as a Black man.
Sure. No. And I think I remember Denzel talking about that. And he talked about his agents bringing him certain roles and certain scripts, and he stayed away from those scripts because he did not want to project a certain image.
Absolutely.
And it probably in the beginning stages, it probably caused some problems for him because, you know, most actors, and I go back to Robert Townsend when he did that movie, I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, one of those movies, and he said, I'm not going to do this role. And then the other guy who was basically egging him on to be resistant said, I'll take it. So I think Denzel made a decision like Sidney Poitier, because if you look at their profile of acting history, you'll see that the roles they did were groundbreaking. And they really projected the Black male image in such a powerful way that when you went to the movie, you could not come out the same way, whether you were a Black person or a white person. You had to see that there was something in that projection of character that made you say that if I have these doubts about myself, I have to re-examine that. And if a white person said, if I have these prejudices, I have to re-examine that. Now, I don't know, that may not last too long, but you couldn't leave the theater not thinking that.
You said something that was powerful there. You said there's something in that projection of character. There's something in that projection of character. And it's like, I think about fatherhood in that regard as well. I mean, this is Black fathers now, and there's something in that projection of character. And so I did an episode a few weeks ago in which we talked about the power of imagery, right? And going back to what you just said, there's something in the projection of character. What character is it that we as Black men are projecting? That's powerful. That's powerful. Powerful.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so you ended up going to LA to pursue entertainment, you know. So walk us through the journey there. So, I mean, did you continue as an agent, or you bring on other clients, or are you still currently working in the realm of, you know, entertainment management? Talk to us a little bit about, you know, from a professional perspective, you know, your trajectory after that, moving to LA with the management team of the St. Lunatics.
Well, you know, it's funny, man. When I got out here to Hollywood, it was like walking into a television show or walking into a movie. All the Black actors and actresses that I've been watching on television, you know, I started to intermingle with, and white actors and actresses. So because UTA at the time, and it still is a very big operation. You have like 5 top agencies in Hollywood. You have UTA, CAA, William Morris. It's a 1 or 2 others. UTA at the time was a powerhouse, especially in comedy. They had the Luke and Owen Wilson. They had Ben Stiller, Jim Carrey, Martin Lawrence. So they had basically a monopoly on that. So when I got here to Hollywood, I was thrusted into the Hollywood scene with what my friends let me just qualify that.
Okay.
Only one friend, but several people who I thought were friends.
Associates.
I was thrusted into that situation with what they called at the time a black card, a black Amex card, because nowhere I could go, I couldn't get into. I just had to show my UTA agent business card. Hey, I'm with UTA. And so that was a different experience for me. Now, I had been in New York, and I've been around my father. I've been around the stage. I'd met actors, but this was on another level for me. So I did that for a few years, but in the course of me doing that, I started to feel a sense of emptiness, really, like I really don't like this. I mean, it was exciting. The Hollywood parties, the Hollywood scene was unreal at certain points, right? I met, if you probably name an actor or actress, I probably met them, had a conversation with them, went to a party with them. I got a couple of Prince stories. The singer, I have a Prince story. Maybe I told you.
Hold on. Now you had a Prince story. Now was he making pancakes? Did they make pancakes and you play basketball?
Let me tell you something, man. Yes, you didn't play basketball.
Whoa!
He made, it was pancakes, it was bacon.
Are you serious?
I'm 100%
Hold on. Now, you know, we got to deviate because I'm a huge Dave Chappelle fan. And it was funny when, who was it? They actually did Mickey. It was Mickey, what's the guy's name? Mickey Six or the rocker. Oh, what's his name? It's the brother that, he looks like he's part of Guns N' Roses, but he's a brother. Mickey, what's the guy's name? It's like Mickey Six, whatever it was. But they interviewed him, and that he was the one that in essence gave the story to Dave Chappelle to have the Chappelle show. And he said, no, really, we played basketball. We had just left the club. Eddie Murphy was there, all of that. And then his chef made us pancakes, and they were good. And so So you got to give us a Prince story. You know, this is Black Fathers Now. Every brother on here knows about Prince. So give us the story.
I'll start off the way Prince started off. Nelly Beloved. Okay, so it was that one because Prince, he came out here to LA.
Okay.
He was having these purple house parties. He had rented a house and he painted it completely purple. Right? Okay. So this was the second time. I went to 2 of those parties. The second time I went there, it was me and my friend, and it was, a lot of people there. Quincy Jones, and they were singing, playing. I forget, it was somebody else. It was a bunch of people there. So it was getting to the end of the party, right? Mm-hmm. And we were waiting on, because my friend knew Prince used to have a couple of dancers with him. They were called the Twins, right? Okay. So he knew one of the twins. So we were actually waiting on them. And so everyone else pretty much cleared out. I guess all the guests had basically cleared out. And Prince came up to us. Uh-huh. He said, "Did you enjoy the party?" And he was so serious. And I was so nervous. I was like, "Oh, yeah, definitely. He said, "I'm really glad you enjoyed the party, but it's over. You have to leave." So I got thrown out of Prince's house, man. That's my story.
Oh, you got by Prince. It wasn't by security.
Not by the security, by the purple one himself.
The purple one himself then threw you out the party. And that's actually funny.
If you're going to get thrown out of Prince's house, man, why not be thrown out by Prince? So,
because look, you got a story for life. Dearly beloved, did you enjoy the party? It's time for you to go.
It's time for you to go, man.
Breakfast will not be served.
No more pancakes.
No more pancakes. I love it, man. I love it. And so, yeah, so you literally lived the scene. And what was interesting, you mentioned the concept of access or the power of access. And as Black men, as Black fathers, that's one of the things that some of us that are on the outside looking in feel that we're missing out on, is that access to whatever, ... You know what I'm saying? And so, but what you said something that was interesting in the sense that you had access. You had that, that card that basically gave you unlimited access to anything entertainment that you wanted. But eventually the cachet or the appeal of it wore off and you started to feel empty.
I did, man.
Talk a little bit about that, man.
Well, because look, you can go to so many parties, you start to see the same people, you start to see the same actions, the same behavior, and then you start to look deeper, right? And you start to see that everyone is trying to get something from someone. Now, this is not exclusive to the entertainment industry, but it seems to be exaggerated there.
Absolutely.
When you go there, the first thing is, how you doing? What's your name?
Who do you know?
What do you do?
No.
There you go. What do you do? And I don't even say that now, man. Now I say, what's your passion?
Wow.
Right? I try to divorce myself from that thinking. So it was an emptiness. I began to feel drained by that whole experience. And at a certain point, I stopped performing the way that you need to perform to keep your job. There's a high level of performance. It's high energy. It's volatile at times. I was telling my wife recently that when men talk to each other, and women, but women are oftentimes, they have to become imitators of that man aggressive energy. But when they talk to you in the entertainment industry, in these meetings, you will get berated, you'll get cursed out. If you make a mistake, it's almost catastrophic. And that level of pressure, because it's about staying on top. It's about signing that next big thing. It's about keeping the artist that you have signed. It's about being at different locations so the artist can feel your presence, so they know that you are an agent who's on their side. So all of those things there are present, but they're not present in the way that they would be with the father. Like, you want to be present with your children, right?
Wow, so real.
These are adults that want you there, that want you present. And sometimes you're not even doing anything, you're just there. So that experience, at a certain point, I just started to feel like, I don't want to do this. I want to do something else. Now, I in New York, I had started to do a lot of things with youth. I'd actually the organization that I work with at-risk youth. So that was in my blood, that was in my psyche, that was in my longing. I had a friend who, and this is transitioning a little bit to manhood camp, who had started the concept. I didn't create the concept of manhood camp. My friend Trayvon Tillis came to me and said, hey, look, this is something I've been thinking about. You know, I want you to look at it. I want you to be involved, because we had, I forgot where we met. Actually, we met at a job when I left the entertainment industry. Okay. And he said, I think we can do this together. So we started to put together the concept, the ideal of manhood camp, a 10-week program that worked with at-risk youth and foster children. And it was a mobile program that we started to take around different locations in Los Angeles. And so in the course of me doing that, I started to feel life again, man. I started to feel like a purpose, because in the entertainment industry, for me, the purpose was getting clients and bringing money to the agency so you can exist, so you can stay alive.
Absolutely.
When I made, and that's what it is, right? And so when I made the transition to manhood camp, my purpose was to be a guide, to help facilitate these young men with a more safer passage or pathway towards adulthood. And that was much more fulfilling to me.
Wow. That's, and when you mentioned the concept of what's your passion, you know, that really resonated, because ultimately you came to see that the agent thing, or being in entertainment or entertainment management, was predicated on a relationship that you had with your brother, right?
Right.
But it didn't. And it's funny, because you were also kind of raised around your father, who was also an actor. So you had seen that, but you never had any, you basically had no inclination that was something that you were truly passionate about. It was just an opportunity that presented itself.
Right. Exactly.
And and then also it's like, once you started to do that deep dive from a passion perspective, or you started to do that look around and realizing that, you know, these parties are cool, this open-ended access is dope, hanging out with Prince and telling him, you know, getting him to kick me out of parties is fun, and stories and all to kind of keep in your back pocket. But you felt an emptiness there. And I want to know where that emptiness kind of coincided with you becoming a father, because did all of this kind of happen around the same time?
It did, man. I think it was a coming together of me feeling empty, me feeling a certain way about myself, because passion sustains, right?
Absolutely.
When you're passionate about something, that's sustained. So it will sustain energy. It sustains self-esteem. And so not being passionate about what I was doing and just sort of floundering out there, what I was also good at, right, which was not positive, I was good at conversing. I was good at having conversations, right? I was good at using my words, and not only in the entertainment industry, but with the ladies, right? So
that worked in your favor.
That worked in my favor.
There you go.
But but it also put me in some very precarious situations.
Absolutely.
And so in the midst of all of this, me trying to figure out like what I was going to do out in Hollywood, should I go back? I got, you know, I met different people, and one of the people I met was my child's mother. And, you know, just really not really feeling focused about who I was and myself and my purpose, you know, just sort of slid into a relationship, you know, and that relationship resulted in a child, right? Now, I'm not saying anything negative about her, nothing that's, you know, disparaging about her, but for both of us, the relationship was not rooted in purpose, intention. None of that was present, right? It was just, there was an attraction there. There was on some level, and then there was that resulted in what adults do, and then that resulted in what happens when adults do what they do in an irresponsible way. And so when the child came, because now I'm gonna go back to being raised in St. Louis and around my mother and the lessons that I learned, I said, I have a responsibility, right? And my responsibility is to take care of that child, but to take care of that child in a relationship so that child sees mother and father. So that was the mindset that I had, right? Not really thinking about how I think about, what's best for a child. Now I was thinking what's best for a child is for the parents to be together.
Absolutely.
And so that resulted in me and my child's mother setting out on the course to be together. And in the course of that, there was conversations of marriage. There was so we were going down that road, but simultaneously going down that road, there was this reality looking us in the face that this is not working. There's negative vibrations here. There's negative energy, and all the while I'm ignoring that, right? Because I'm thinking I have this responsibility.
Absolutely.
And as the child came and the child 1, 2, I began to see that negative energy, that negative atmosphere around us was becoming so thick, and the child was being in the middle of that. I remember one situation so vivid. We were going back and forth. And our child came up and was trying to do something. I think she was 1 or 2, maybe 2 or 3. So child couldn't really articulate, but she was trying to break us up. She even got a glass of water she was trying to give. And then she just put it down and waved her hands in the air and left the room. Like, I give up, right?
Wow.
And that image was seared into my brain and my mind. And I said, I can't continue on this road. I have to get out, right? I have to get out, because what I thought I was doing, just the opposite was occurring. So I had to, at that point, I had to find a way to extricate myself from that dynamic. And, and that happened. But in the course of that happening, a whole bunch of other stuff happened too. Right. And so I had started a new job by that time. And I was beginning to, really get more rooted in developing manhood camp with my friend Trayvon. I was getting more heavy into working with families and children. So I said to myself, this is the direction I want to go. And I started to slip away from the ties with my child's mother. And we were basically moving apart, where we were at the juncture of the only thing that's necessary now for this to fully happen is for us to move out. Right. And so, that happened. I moved out, and, in the course of me moving out and finding my own place, and that was a journey too, because I didn't automatically find a place. I moved out and I went to a couple of hotels, and then I found a spot I thought was suitable. But in finding, myself in this new workplace, I also found a person who I connected to. I didn't really know what the connection was, though. But I connected to who at that time was not my wife. She today is my wife. But the connection that I found was I found that I was able to have a conversation with her and be myself.
No mask.
When I say by being myself, I mean, I didn't have to put on airs. I didn't have to feel like I had to say just wildly intelligent things. I could,
you could just be yourself.
Just be myself, man. And she made me laugh. She made me laugh, man, and I made her laugh, and I like being in that space. But as things go, that relationship was discovered by my child's mother, and that set off a whole series of things. And one of the things was that in the beginning of our separation, we had what I would consider a seamless sort of back and forth with the child. Like I would come pick up the child. I think I was three days a week, and we had our own agreement without going to court. But when the relationship was discovered, and I talk about this in my book, more. But when the relationship was discovered, things changed.
Absolutely.
Things changed.
You know,
worse.
You know, and it's funny because my grandmother. It's funny. My grandmother just turned 92, and she gave an analogy about another relative not too long ago, and it stuck with me, and it kind of made me think about your situation. And she said, "Mike, you know, you can't open the front door if the back door's still open." And I was just like, and she was talking about another relative in a situation,
right?
But she said, you know, you can't open the front door if the back door is still open. And I was just like, wow. And to your point,
Grandma was a very wise woman.
Yeah, grandmama is very wise. But yeah, so to your point, it sounds like your back door was open and you started opening that front door. And you know what happens? The breeze then goes from one to the other.
Yes.
Yeah,
and the breeze connects. And the breeze starts saying, what the hell? I'm the breeze. I'm the breeze. And so, yes, man. And even though the relationship with my child's mother was over, things never fully are over until you close that door.
Absolutely.
Right? You have definitives. Absolutely. Because, you know, and this is something that I know that I exasperated. And I'm very honest about these things. When I was taking the child over, I would say and have dinner. You know, and that was even though I was doing it because I wanted to have a relationship that was not hostile, that message might have been different for my child's mother. Absolutely. It might have been a message of reconciliation. And so I did not allow myself to really think about that's the message that I'm sending. And what I did, I said, I allowed the thought that said, this is going to be good because you're going to be friends with her now. And if you're friends with her now, she's not going to want to go to court with you. Because Absolutely. I was petrified about going to court.
You know, and you said something there that was powerful in the sense that, you know, and it makes me think about the concept of miscommunication. Right. And like in my book, Dynamic Black Fatherhood Manifesto, there is a commitment chapter that talks about, you know, I am committed to developing effective communication skills. And the thing about effective communication is not about diction and having an, exquisite vocabulary and all of that. It's about how do you impact that individual or that group that you're connecting with. And so effective communication or clear communication and what you were talking about, the messages were mixed. You had one intention in regards to having dinner that, look, I just want to keep a relationship so that we can co-parent well and maybe avoid going to court. The flip side of it, she looked at it from the standpoint of maybe this brother might be giving me another shot. We're going to try to work this thing out. And you were opening up that window. But again, clear, open, concise communication on the front end. And I think this is a lesson, brothers, listening to this, that, you know, sometimes common sense ain't common to everybody. Right. So what's common to me might not be common to Mark, and what's common to Mark might not be common to me. So to avoid confusion, we should always be very clear about our intentions up front to minimize heartache or to minimize miscommunication. You know, one of the analogies that I like to use is, you know, I like things black or white. Gray only looks good in a suit. Think about that. You know what I'm saying? You want it black or white. Gray only looks good in a suit because, you know, and I think a lot of times we get caught up in so much gray area because we leave things open-ended. Whereas if we go ahead, like you mentioned, and close that door on the front end and clearly communicate, look, I'm here so that we can keep a friendly relationship so that, you know, our kid has the best environment possible to grow. This is not about me and you romantically growing. This is about us, you know, co-parenting in a way that our kid has the best chance of success in a, you know, in an environment that's conducive to her growing and becoming that.
You know what? That is absolutely, I think that message is a message that I think if people can hear that, if men can understand that and really employ those things, I think it'll save a great deal of heartache. Now, it's not always going to be like, if you do that, things are going to go
absolutely
well and no problems. But I think you minimize things because I'm honest about what I did. If I would have done that, then I believe that I would have given her an opportunity to confront what was happening in a very honest way.
Absolutely.
Because what happened was she perceived it as dishonesty when she found out about the relationship. And as a result of that, her feelings took her to a point where she said, I now have to do something about this.
Wow.
And that do something about this led me to court. First, it led me to domestic violence court.
Wow.
Where, my child, I had a restraining order placed on me. My child was taken away. I didn't see my child for 2 months, almost 3 months. And that was, let me tell you something, man. Being in those moments were the most difficult moments in my life. Because as a father, I had been used to seeing my child every night. Even when the separation happened and I didn't see her every night, I heard a voice. We said prayer nightly. But during those weeks, I didn't know if I was ever going to see my child again.
Wow.
And my mind exploded with scenarios, crazy scenarios. Maybe the child is in a different state now because I didn't know, right? And if I would have backtracked, and this is, I think, where that fear came in of court, right? If I would have backtracked and just said that I have to walk through my fear, I have to go in and just file for a reasonable amount of time with my child. I eventually did do that. And luckily, I did it before she did her actions, right? Because I saw these things happening, right? And they were mounting, right? It was sending me texts and emails saying that you are, I'm afraid of you. You're not going to, I don't want you to take your child. I don't want you to go with me to the doctor's appointments. So there was this whole narrative being created.
That's right. She was and she was creating a paper trail, creating a narrative and creating a paper trail. So that's why it was in text, via email. There probably was not via phone call unless the phone call was recorded.
Right.
All of this was created.
Everything that could be recorded. You're absolutely right, my friend. And so at a certain point, I did walk through that fear. But what I'm saying is if I would have did it early on, if I would have said, look, you know what? Here's the situation. We're not together. However, like you said, I want to make sure that we co-parent this thing right, right? And then, so let's talk about this. I'm not going to leave things open for, misinterpretation. I'm not going to let my fear sort of override my senses. And so I didn't do that. But so at the point that I did do it, the point that I did go to court, luckily, it was before she had filed. And by me filing, everything then I was the, what is the terminology? I wasn't the respondent.
That's right. That's right. You are the respondent or defendant or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So by me filing, I wasn't the respondent, and then she had to respond to me. So when we did go to domestic violence court, that judge moved everything to the family court. And when it got to family court, the judge dismissed the domestic violence. And we just had to deal with the custody situation.
Hold on 2 seconds right there, because one of the things that we talked about was a clear communication and how you mentioned if I had communicated clearly up front first,
right,
we avoided some of this. And what helped to potentially save some extra heartache with the court process was the fact that you filed first.
Right.
So again, fellas, I want you to pay attention to that concept of first, right? First, do things up front, lay it all out up front so that you can be clear in your communication. One scenario helps to minimize the miscommunication or misunderstandings. I mean, you can't guarantee it, but you help to minimize that probability. The second scenario, especially in this case, by going ahead and taking action first, that helped things to move in a process that didn't put him on the defensive, which then helped a favorable outcome to come because he decided to take action and go first or file first.
No, that's absolutely right. And so if I didn't file first, I would have been responding to a lot of salacious and a lot of untruth in what she filed, right? And so I would have looked like I did not necessarily want this, but I had to deal with it. By me filing first. And like you said, it's not a guarantee, right? That's a guaranteed success. in that sense. But by me filing first, I said nothing negative of the mother, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke only of the benefit of the child having a relationship with both the mother and the father.
Absolutely.
That is what my paperwork was filled with. It was filled with the love of a father for his child, for his daughter in this instance. And so when the court received that, they saw that this person had filed first. This person had nothing negative to say in the paperwork against the mother. And everything that the father said was to the benefit of the child. Because when you're in that court, right, either if you're in a Department of Child Family Services or if you're in family court, the court wants to see what is the thinking of the parents in relationship to the child, not in relationship to the other parent. And I did that. And so the court saw that.
My brother, I'm going to tell you what, it's interesting. As you walk through someone's journey, you start to see points of connection at different places. And this takes us back to the quote that you made earlier, something in that projection of character. How we were talking about, the actors and Sidney Poitier and Denzel. There's something in that projection of character. Fast forward to your journey through the court system for custody with your child. There's something in that projection of character.
Absolutely.
It's powerful, man. The ties that bind are powerful when you really take a look and see how, like, things that kind of get implanted in you are preparing you for something else down the road. But again, fellas, listen to that. Something in that projection of character.
And for me, that projection of character, man, started back. If you talk about going back to my origin, St. Louis, what my mother put into me. I mean, because my mother went through a very rough situation with my father. And I saw how she handled that with grace. There was not one time. And my father, he left, right? He left my mother. He said, I'm an actor, and he sent my mother back to St. Louis. But not one time did my mother ever say anything negative about my father.
Hold on. Now, do you think that subconsciously or very intentionally, that was your motivation behind how you approached filing and submitting and utilizing the type of language that you utilized in regards to the custody battle for your child? Do you think that was the inspiration or part of it?
I believe so. I believe so. Even if I didn't wasn't consciously aware of that at the time, I am now. I am now because I had conversations with my mother in the course of this and afterwards. And it became more, I became more conscious and I remembered more about how she handled the situation. Now, I was so young. I wasn't there for the breakup. Well, I was there, I was like 1 or 2. So I wasn't conscious of it then, but I was very conscious throughout the years, right? And even when my father took us to New York, basically kidnapped us, right? To New York when I was 10 or 11. That's a whole nother story, right? Nothing negative, man. And so that had to be instilled in me. Right. But then also, I realized that if I was going to go in this court, right, and I was going in as a Black man, right, and I know the history of Black men in court, whether in family court, criminal court, civil court, you name the court, we're seen differently.
Absolutely.
And that's not me playing the race card. That's me playing the reality card. So I knew if I went in there as an angry Black man, berating that woman next to me, that everything she said in her paperwork would be deemed true.
You know what? As an angry Black man, there's something in that projection of character.
Absolutely.
As a very resolute, concise, loving, kind father, there's something in that projection of character.
Absolutely.
As this, hardworking, professional that's doing his thing and making the world a better place, there's something in that projection of character.
if nothing else, we're going to come out of this talk fully understanding that concept of projection of character.
That's real, man.
Because let me say this, and standing in front of that judge, I had two options. I could be the person who the court expected to see, or I can be the person that my mother made me and my father made me to be. Right? And so I chose the latter. I'm going to be the person that when I finish talking, that judge is going to see nothing but a loving father. So I was very tone. I controlled the tone of my voice. I controlled the projection of my feelings, right? My passion for my child. I said it in a resolute way and not in an angry way. And let me tell you something. That's not an easy thing to do.
Not at all.
When you're facing losing your child, right? And most men, they can get, that bravado can come out, especially in that dynamic, and that anger can come out, right? And so one of the ways, and we talked a little bit about this before in our first conversation, one of the ways I did that was I didn't allow negative conversation about the mother into my mind. I didn't allow it from me, and I didn't allow it from people around me. And people got angry with me. Some people, family and friends, man, because they wanted me to say negative things. They wanted me to express that anger. And it's not that I wasn't expressing, but I couldn't do it in a way that would allow that to take up real estate in my mind.
I'm gonna bring another connection point back to that. You gave the story earlier about how the negative energy was so thick in the house when you and, the mother of your child were interacting, and you remember vividly your kid being in the middle of that.
Absolutely.
So that negative energy was so thick and that it resonated with you, the reaction that your child had when she just threw her hands up and said, I can't impact this situation. That resonated with you. And then it ties into the later journey of, negative energy was coming, or others are trying to pour this negativity into the situation. Maybe, again, subconsciously, you're thinking back to that image of your kid throwing their hands up saying, you know what, I can't do anything here. This negative energy was so thick. You were guarding yourself against that thickness because you know what it can do to the situation.
You're 100% right, man. When parents go through what they go through, and they're lobbing bombs back and forth, right? Oftentimes, they don't look and see that the child is in the middle getting all of the residue from the bomb dropped on them, all the ashes, the smoke, the radiation, all of that is going into the child. They don't see that, right? And so I made a conscious decision that I was not going to do that, right? But I knew I couldn't do it by myself, right? I knew that I needed help to do this, right?
Absolutely.
And so part of the help was, encouraging family and friends not to bring out those feelings in me. My then girlfriend, or to now my wife, she was brilliant in helping me. She was on her way to become a licensed marriage and family therapist, which she is now. And she helped me out so much into getting me to encouraging me to, find groups I can talk to. I did. I found Project Fatherhood out here in LA. And that was a group of fathers that was going through what I was going through. And let me say this, that if you are a father going through this, you need to find a group or people that you can talk to that will help to sustain you and that won't bring you down. If they're bringing you down, if they're putting negativity on your thoughts, it may feel good, like you eat a bunch of bad food and it feels good, it tastes good.
In the moment.
In the moment, but the resulting thing is you feel so bad the next day, right? And so I couldn't, I divorced myself from that, and I married myself to the things that will help sustain me. And that involved me being open about my situation.
You said something there that was so powerful. I married myself to the things that sustain me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. I mean, that I married myself to the things that sustain me. It's like, what do we allow ourselves to be connected to? Part of that is also, what do we allow into our lives and into our space? Because, we have limited capacity on a personal level, right? That's just being completely 100. We all have limited capacity, just like we have limited time in the day. And so what is it that you allow to be filled in the limited 24 hours that you have in this calendar day, right? And the capacity that you have, like, what are you, this limited capacity, what are you allowing to take up space or to occupy real estate in your mind and in your spirit? You have to be very mindful and conscious of that. And I think that whole concept of you married yourself to the things that sustained you, was extremely important. And so, it's just that, fellas, I hope you're listening to that. That's powerful. Powerful.
Man, when I finally made that decision, it helped to free me of a lot of pressure on my thoughts, a lot of feeling of despair and hopelessness, because you can get washed in that. You can drown in that.
Absolutely.
Right? And so when I did that action and I started to connect to the things that would sustain me, I felt strengthened. I felt power, right? But not in a conquering sort of way. Not like I'm going to go in there, I'm going to crush my child's mother. Not in that way. I felt powerful in that I have the ability and the right to be a father. And that is what I'm taking into this court. That's the attitude, the thought, and the understanding of who I am and what I am going to say to that court. And then when I did that, man, I could go into court and say those things without being angry, without, projecting negativity at the child's mother, and without losing control. I'm not going to lie. I cried.
Absolutely.
I cried because this is my child. Right? And so the court, the woman in front of us, the judge, her honor, she saw a man, a father that deserved to be in the child's life and that the child should be in that person's life.
And so, and I guess kind of moving forward with that, what was the result of this particular scenario?
Well, we came out of the family court. The domestic charges were dismissed, unfounded. I was able to get I think a respectable visitation, right? 3 days a week. It was basically what we had before.
But just on paper now. Yeah.
It was just codified in court at that point.
Absolutely.
So things were good for a moment. And then, got DCFS charges against me. Those charges came in. Some of the same charges that were in the domestic violence complaint, DCFS now came to me with.
Wow.
And so now I had to deal with that. Right. And I said to myself, I'm going to continue being who I am. The lady came over from DCFS, and the first thing I told my wife, to be, was that I'm going to read the DCFS worker a passage from Khalil Gibran's book on fatherhood, right? And she was like, don't do that. You got to go in, just answer the questions. But this passage from the book, and I wish I had the book. I wanted to read it.
Okay.
Passage. It was basically that as a parent, you are here to facilitate growth of your child in a successful way towards adulthood. He says it so much more beautifully than that. But here's how things work. Here's how the universe works. When I read that, so she was going to start answering the questions, right? I said, before we get started, I want to read something to you about my philosophy on parenting. I read the passage, and when I finished, She said, that was beautiful. And then she said, when I got married, I had a passage from Khalil Gibran's book read at my marriage. She saw me in a different light. She did not see me what was on that paper. And then we were able to have a conversation.
And I'm going to tell you what's funny about that. Again, tying back to something you said earlier. You said, I could be the person they expect to see, or I can be the person, in essence, that I was destined to be.
Absolutely.
And so to your point there, I could be the person that they expect to see, or I can be the person that I am destined to be. And so to me, that example there of reading that passage was in essence that. It's like you literally were living the notion of, I know who I'm destined to be, and I'm going to walk in that. I'm going to pursue that. I'm going to walk in power, and that's it. I'm not going to be what you expect me to be. And the funny thing is, when we start walking in our purpose in life, it's I've referenced it numerous times on the podcast, and I'm going to reference it again today. One of my favorite books is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And
my wife loves that book.
That's one of my favorite books, man. And the whole concept is, as you start to pursue your personal legend, the universe, or in my philosophical belief, it's the creator of the universe conspires to help you along on your journey. And so, but you have to, but the key point is you have to first take that step and start pursuing. So as you start pursuing the man that you were destined to be, the man that your mother and your father raised you to be or inspired you to be, aside from the all access black cards and the parties at Prince's house and the celebrity that and hanging out with Nelly and all, aside from all of that, no, I mean, not taking anything away from them, but aside from all of that, you taking a step back and saying, I'm going to take action and be intentional about walking, in the direction that I'm supposed to walk in, pursuing my purpose in life, then there's nothing that anybody else can say about that, because I am authentically being me.
Right. No, you know what? Look, you're so right. I think when you make the determination to be a certain way, and that way coincides with the high vibrations of the universe, right? And I'm not trying to get all ethereal.
It's all good. Yeah, go ahead.
Those forces that are out there, they do begin to open up and clear passages for you, right? So you can keep walking in that positive direction.
Absolutely.
And in that moment, when I read that, right, and she saw that, the universe said that this is, I see the direction that he's going into. And when I read that, and when I did that, it wasn't theatrical. I wasn't being my father. It was not an act for me. I was really saying that this is the father that I am going to be to that child. I am not that person. I'm not that man in that paperwork, right? Because in whatever profile you have of me, that's not who I am.
Wow.
Right? This is the person who I am. And I did it in a way, and I go back to how I projected the character in court, right? That I did it in a way that she felt so at ease around me that she said that I cannot see this person being that person. As a result, the charges were unfounded.
Again,
did a little bit more investigation. They were unfounded again.
And again, check this out. Something in that projection of character.
There you go. I'm ringing a bell every time we say ding,
ding, ding. Here we go again. Something in that projection of character. So kind of fast forward us a little bit through the process. So you went through that. You were awarded 3 days custody, 3 days per week. So pretty much, what you had before, but it had just been codified, so to speak. I guess take us from there. So, what then became of you as a father, and I guess now as a new husband, because, you'd gotten married to, the lady that you had been dating, and that's right. But she became your wife, and talk to us a little bit about that particular journey there, and then lead us into the creation. Well, not the creation of, because you mentioned it was already established, but your involvement in Manhood Camp.
Well, there was another level of challenges we had to go with the court. There was another DCFS charge. This time it involved soon-to-be wife, and that was even more serious than the other. And so what ensued was a terrific court situation, and we came successfully out of that. And as a result of that, I was awarded full-time custody.
Wow.
Now, I'm sort of compressing a lot in that.
Absolutely.
But again, it was about me projecting a certain character. It was about me being cooperative. It was about me being resolute and who I am, who I wanted to be in my child's life.
Wow.
And going through that whole, it was a 6-7 month trial ordeal. Coming out of that, the judge looked at me and said that I found this person to be credible and truthful, right? And thus awarded this. Now, I go back to the beginning of my book, right? My Daughter's Keeper. I start out by saying people said I won a victory. I don't feel like I won anything, right? Because for me, a victory for a child is having two healthy parents in the child's life.
Absolutely, 100%.
On an active basis, right?
Absolutely.
Whether the parents are together or not. So I don't feel like by me getting full custody that I won something, right? Because then that becomes an absence in the child's life.
Absolutely.
So I want to be clear about that. But I also want to be clear that I was going to be a child. I was going to be a parent in that child's life. And so whatever was necessary for me to do that,
I was going to do
in honesty, I was going to do that. And so coming out of that ordeal, myself and my wife, not my wife at that point, but we decided that, we were suited for one another. And we were going to start walking this journey together. And we did that, and we got married, and we brought our families together. And now I am a stepfather in a blended family.
Oh, wow.
And that's another podcast.
That's a totally different one, because I think we could go for hours on that, huh?
But just real brief on that. That's something that I'm learning every day, new things about myself as a man, and as being a father in the dynamic of being a stepfather. And so there's challenges with that are over and beyond, biologically parenting a father, a child. And so, but we're all together now. We're all, trying to make this thing work. And I think we are. I think we're coming to a happy understanding of who the other person's is versus, their relationship. And it's about understanding the character of the person in front of you and helping to nourish that character and not suppress. So there's a lot of stuff involved with that. But to your point, coming out of that, I was even more resolute that there's a lot of children out there, and there's a lot of, fathers, because I started the fatherhood circle as well, that I wanted to get deeper into working with Manhood Camp.
Absolutely.
So we expanded the work. We started partnering with an organization called Peace for Kids that work with foster children. And we started working stronger with them, expanding the time that we do this. And in the course of that, I started to say to myself that, working with the children is fine, but I want to start working with fathers as well, right? And so I started the component of Fatherhood Circle, where it's a support group for fathers, but a support group that's not mandated, right? Because when you're mandated, there's a certain degree of things that you feel you want to say, and then you feel you have to say. So going back when I talked about Project Fatherhood, I love that group because for me, I wasn't mandated. I just went, but a lot of the guys there were mandated.
Absolutely.
But still, I saw the truth, hurt, and pain in them, and I was able to feel connected to that truth, hurt, and pain. Well, I knew I wasn't alone in my truth, hurt, and pain.
Absolutely.
But my organization, the component of Manhood Camp Fatherhood Circle, is not mandated. And we bring fathers there, and it's an open air dialogue and conversation about what it is to be a father.
Absolutely.
The challenges, the ups, the downs. And that's a beautiful experience, man, because there's things about being a father that's uniquely different than being a mother. And that conversation has to happen. When that conversation happens in a safe environment, you really learn a lot about yourself, and you're connected to the stories of the other fathers. So that kind of brings it to where we are right now.
That's Awesome. So manhood camp. So and fatherhood circle is a component of manhood camp, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. And for brothers to get information and more information about manhood camp, how can they do so?
Well, they can go to the website, www.manhoodcamp.org. Everything there is there. They can go to my website, my personal website that I established as a result of the book coming out, My Daughter's Keeper.
Okay.
www.markrwinkler.com.
And he's a brother.
I am a brother.
Because I'm going to tell you, when I hear Winkler, the first thing that came to mind was Henry Winkler. You know, the Fonz. I know you get that probably all the time. Like, you related to the Fonz. A lot, man. But yeah, so manhoodcamp.org, brothers can get information about that, and Fatherhood Circle is a component of that, or they can visit markrwinkler.com. And I'll have all of that in the show notes, fellas, so that you all can link to it. Check him out and all of that. And you said you got a book coming out. When is the anticipated release date of your book, My Daughter's Keeper?
Drum roll.
We're
looking to get it out on Father's Day.
Ah, perfect timing. Perfect timing. Now, and
for me, that book is it completes that journey that I went through. And it's not written in a self-help sort of way, or it's not a preachy way. And I don't lie in the book, man. A lot of the things, some of the things I touched on about, when I was going through that, when I wasn't sure about what my projection of character was going to be, and I was projecting the negativity, the negative aspects of my character. I talk about that honestly in the book, and I talk about that, how that led me to the decisions that I made that led me to have my child, who I don't regret having, right? Because she's here and I love her, but I probably would have made different decisions.
Right? Absolutely.
If I were not in a certain mindset. And so I talk openly and honestly about my journey. And I think fathers who are going through that journey, I think they can feel that connection. And if they can't get to a group or a meeting or have someone in their life who they can honestly talk to about what they're going through, because they too are trying to stay away from negativity.
Absolutely.
They can read that book and feel a connection. And I think women can read the book if they are going through that with their men. They then can get a better understanding of the feelings that the man is feeling. Because just one thing I'll say real brief that I've talked about in the book, how I was sitting down with my wife and her two girls, and I was watching. This is when my child wasn't there. And I was watching that rock movie. I forget the name of it, but he had a daughter, right? And he was just trying to get to know her. And I was watching that, man, and I was feeling so depressed. I just started to just cry. And the girls were looking at me. My soon-to-be wife was looking at me, and she, tried to explain to the girls what was happening. But what was happening was I was feeling a sense of death, a sense of loss, right? And if a woman reads the book and they see their man feeling in that way, they can get an understanding. So I don't think it's a book just for men. I think it's a book that if read by both men and women, they can each understand kind of what's happening in those moments.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, that's gonna be powerful. My Daughter's Keeper. One little tweak that I might encourage you to think about is to release it before Father's Day, because that sounds like a great Father's Day gift.
Absolutely. Well, brother, there you go. I'm going to ring the bell for that one, too. Ding,
ding, ding, ding.
That's a great idea, brother. That is a great idea.
No doubt. And as far as like social media and all, are you pretty active on social media currently?
I am. You can get me on Instagram. It's Fatherhood Circle.
Okay.
On I think on Facebook it's Fatherhood Circle. Okay. And My Daughter's Keeper on Facebook, and on Twitter it's Manhood Camp.
Okay. So Twitter, Manhood Camp, and then Fatherhood Circle on Facebook and Instagram, and
My Daughter's Keeper on Facebook.
Okay. Facebook, My Daughter's Keeper. And I'll have those in the show notes as well. Okay. And then you all can also access all of that from either markrwinkler.com or from manhoodcamp.org and manhoodcamp.org. manhoodcamp.org. And I'll have that in the show notes as well. So you can link up with my man, Mark Winkler. And long story short, fellas, if you reach out to him, let him know you heard about him on Black Fathers Now, because this story, this journey is powerful. And I'm really excited to see how this thing plays out, because you have a powerful journey that a lot of brothers can really connect to. And you're walking in your purpose, man. And, you know, again, something in that projection of character is really showing in how you operate. And I encourage you to keep it going, because it's going to help a lot of people out there. Any last words for the brothers listening, my man?
I just want to say, you know, project the character that you really, that's really you. Walk in truth. And if you are going through the situation, connect to people that you can find support with in a positive way, and just lead in love. Let that be your guide. Love for your child. And I think that in general, man, when I went through my journey, and I talk about that in the book, I led in love, right? And that love prevented me from doing the things that would keep me away from my child. So just love your child and let everything happen from there.
Powerful. And to add to that, it's an and, or an addition to, a quote that was dropped by my pastor, Derek Wakefield. He stated in a sermon probably about a year and a half ago, and he said, love without truth is hypocrisy. Truth without love is brutality. When that, it literally is in addition to
powerful, brother.
That's right. Love without truth is hypocrisy. Truth without love is brutality.
I love it.
No joke, man. Well, my brother, I want to thank you for sharing your time and just sharing your story with us, man. Your journey is powerful. And you know, the thing is, the life that we live is not always for us. A lot of times it's for those that are around us. And so as long as we're open and willing to share our journey, it's going to impact someone in a positive way. So thank you. And I salute you, my brother. And you keep on doing what you do.
Thank you, brother. The same to you, brother. And I appreciate the opportunity to share some moments with you. And you please continue doing what you do, good brother.
I am. Well, fellas, with the Black Fathers Now family, we want to thank my man Mark Winkler for joining us. Again, visit markrwinkler.com or manhoodcamp.org and get all the information. All the show note information will be there so that you can connect with him on social media as well. And grab a copy of his book. It's coming out before Father's Day.
Before Father's Day.
And also let him know that you heard about him on Black Fathers Now. As always, fellas, visit blackfathersnow.com. Follow Black Fathers Now on all the social media outlets, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Also visit IamMikeDorsey.com. If you're interested in having me to come out and speak to your school, your organization, your group, I'd love to come and pour into the crowd. Visit IamMikeDorsey.com, submit a request, shoot me an email. I'd love to come and just kind of bring some experiences and bring some life-changing opportunities or life-changing skill sets or just scenarios that help you to think about life a little bit differently. You know, as always, subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Amazon Alexa, enable AnyPod. I mean, everywhere you listen to podcasts, subscribe, listen, leave ratings, leave reviews, and share this out, because a brother needs to hear it. All right. And until next time. This is brought to you by Black Family Apparel. Visit blackfamilyapparel.com and grab some dope apparel that celebrates the nuances of the Black family. And until next time, fellas, y'all be blessed, well, and wise. And I'll holler at you. Peace. Yo, fellas, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And always visit blackfathersnow.com, as well as follow Black Fathers Now on virtually every social media platform you can think of. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. Just follow us and engage with us, man. Look forward to hearing from you. And I guess until next time, I'll holler at you. Peace.